You're tuned in to Healthstopedia Center, your #1 health and fitness platform, dedicated to providing you with essential health and fitness education for sound health, happiness, and longevity. Here, we break down complex health topics, offer practical fitness tips, and share proven strategies for a healthier lifestyle. If you love transformative health content like this, please share our videos, hit the like button, and subscribe to stay updated. Thank you for sharing and supporting us. Now let's dive in.
So what I'd like to look at is what is damaging the DNA. Because if our body's designed to heal itself, why isn't it healing? It's because of the genes. It's because of the damage in the DNA. So what causes damage? 92% of DNA damage, we are told, is caused by...
Ignorance is a very damaging poison that many people unknowingly consume daily. Countless individuals engage in habits that harm their DNA without realizing it. Dr. Barbara O'Neill explains 9 key factors that contribute to DNA damage, some of which include 1. Caffeine. 2. Our cell phones. 3. Alcohol. The list goes on, and if you want to learn about all of them, stick around until the end of this video. It could be a game changer for your physical health. If you enjoy content like this, please share our videos with your friends and subscribe to our channel for more Healthstopedia teachings daily. Let's dive in.
But today, in medicine, many people are told they're sick because of their genes. So what I'd like to look at is genes. I'd like to look at the role that genes play. I'd like to look at genes the true cause of disease. And we're going to go, where we'll go many times this week, to what I call the CBD, the Central Business District of the human body, is the inside workings of the cell. So right inside the nucleus of the cell is the DNA, and the DNA is the genetic code that determines the colour of our eyes, the colour of our skin, the colour of our hair. Even though I've just hit 70, I've still got brown hair because my father died at 92 with mostly black hair, a bit of grey. My mother died at 51 with brown hair. So both sides of my genes, and we've got 23 chromosomes from our mother, 23 chromosomes from our father. So both my sides were not grey. My husband's white, and both of his parents were white at 50. The DNA is a fascinating thing, and if you stretch out the DNA, it can be 2 meters long, and it's got a huge amount of information in it. If you put all the information that was in the DNA into alphabetical language, put it into paperback books, it would go to the moon and back. I can hardly get my mind around that. It's like an intense library. And this DNA is made up of the food that we eat. The outside strands are made up of polysaccharides. So polysaccharides basically means many sugars. And everything we eat is made up of many sugars. The juice that you're having liquid food at the moment, it's made up of many sugars. That's the outside strands. The inside bands is made up from amino acids, and amino acids is a breakdown from the protein that we eat. And you're getting your protein in your protein drinks. Yesterday, that lovely meal that you'll probably dream about for the next 2 days. Those sunflower burgers with sunflower seeds, a little tofu, there's the plant protein there. And they're all glued together by minerals. Minerals literally glues us together. Hippocrates said, let food be your medicine and medicine be your food. And he didn't know what I've just shown you now, that our very DNA is made up from the food that we eat. Nothing we do can change the fact, nothing I can do can change the fact that I'm white-skinned, blue-eyed, brown-haired, around 5'2". So it seems like nothing I can do can change the fact that my mother died a cripple in a wheelchair with rheumatoid arthritis at 51. It seems like a little step. But though I cannot change the colour of my skin, my height, I can change the genes regarding my health status. Isn't that good news? Because you've probably noticed that I'm not a cripple in a wheelchair with rheumatoid arthritis, and I'm way past 51. I'm so glad that though genetics may load the gun, it is lifestyle that pulls the trigger. My mother didn't realise that so many things she was doing was actually feeding her arthritis. Many people are sick through ignorance, not realising that their lifestyle, even actually your emotional status, even what we think, definitely what we eat and drink, can turn our genes on or off. So I've been born with inherited genes towards rheumatoid arthritis, but I don't have it. But I have had a sore thumb for a couple of years, and I wear a castor oil compress on it every night, and it's happy. And so when they x-rayed my wrist, I said, "Did you see anything on that thumb?" Because it's taking a bit longer to respond, though it is responding. And the doctor said, "Oh, there's a bit of osteoarthritis there." And I thought, aha, I knew there was something there. And I was so happy. Why was I so happy? Because I've just hit 70 and that's all I've got, whereas my mother was a cripple in a wheelchair. Genetics loads the gun, but it is lifestyle that pulls the trigger. And that study is called epigenetics, the effect of our food, our lifestyle on our genes. We can actually turn those genes on or off by what we're eating and drinking. That's the good news. So what I'd like to look at is what affects these genes. We'll begin looking at it all week actually, but I'd like to know why we inherit weaknesses. And we inherit weaknesses that are in the DNA. So it's a message that comes through. It's like my father, all my life he had asthma. At the age of 50 he conquered it when he stopped dairy. When he stopped eating dairy, he stopped getting asthma. I'm one of 5 children. The first 4, no asthma. The 5th one, serious asthma. I remember the ambulance coming to our house and taking my little sister to hospital, serious asthma. I have 6 children. My 5th child, asthma. And I guess that's, some say it's the luck of the draw. I don't know how you'd describe it, but sometimes the genes come through and sometimes they don't. And we look at each other, we look at our brothers and sisters, our children, our nieces. Oh, they've got their father's legs, they've got their mother's nose. It comes through in all sorts of interesting ways. My sister conquered her asthma at the age of 40 when she finally stopped dairy and wheat. But my son Peter, we conquered his asthma at the age of 2.5. And he was diagnosed with severe physiological asthma. We definitely stopped any dairy, we definitely stopped any wheat, but I also went to a naturopath and I discovered water treatments and herbs that I could give him. He had his last asthma attack at the age of 2. I'm so glad that though genetics loads the gun, it is lifestyle that pulls the trigger. So by the end of the week, you're getting a crash course this week, a crash course in how to look after this body. In fact, I think it's tomorrow night we're going to look at poultices, and I think Wednesday night, herbs. I think another night we'll be looking at water treatments, just simple things that you can do to ease symptoms, and as your body responds, you'll start to see, this is what is helping the body, because the body can heal itself. Sometimes it just needs a little bit of help in a few ways. So what I'd like to look at is what is damaging the DNA. Because if our body's designed to heal itself, why isn't it healing? It's because of the genes. It's because of the damage in the DNA. So what causes damage? 92% of DNA damage, we are told, is caused by a mineral deficiency. There's a book called The Calcium Lie by Dr. Robert Thompson. It's a fascinating book. He's a medical doctor was about to get out of medicine because people weren't getting better, so he decided to do a nutrition course, and his eyes were opened. 92% of DNA damage is caused by a mineral deficiency. What really opened Dr. Robert Thompson's eyes was that the food we eat today does not have the nutrients in it that it used to have. 80 years ago, it had twice as many nutrients as it has today. In fact, some figures are showing 80% more nutrients. And it's the mineral deficiency. So what causes the mineral deficiency? Well, if the soil's deficient, the plant's deficient, and the people that eat the plant will be deficient. So why is it deficient? Every step we should be asking why. It's because the same crops are grown year after year after year after year. When a crop goes in the ground, it's taking nutrients out of the soil to be able to grow, to be able to produce the corn or the apples. And if you don't replace those nutrients, then the apples and the corn, they don't have the it's basically minerals that they need. So when the person eats that plant, they're not getting the minerals that they need. An organic farmer will always feed the soil between crops, and they'll feed it mostly with compost. And we'll talk about compost a little bit more later. So mineral deficiency, soil's deficient, plants are deficient, people will be deficient. Let me give you an example. One organic tomato will give you 9 times the iron of a conventionally grown tomato, because organic farming feeds the soil so that the plant is nourished. But what's also happening is people are taking things that are leaching the minerals out. Caffeine. Caffeine does a couple of things. Caffeine disrupts the neurotransmitters in the brain, and we'll look at that a little bit more, I think, on the Wednesday lecture. And that's why people feel good when they have a cup of coffee, because it causes a crisis response. It disrupts the neurotransmitters. But what I specifically wanted to look at regarding minerals is it takes the minerals out, especially calcium and magnesium. And bones and teeth are deteriorating far too young today. Mineral deficiency is the caffeine's taking those minerals out. You see, it's a toxin to the body, and so the body gives it minerals to calm it down. But because it disrupts the neurotransmitters in the brain, it causes some damage in the DNA. So you can have a couple, both having a couple of cups of coffee a day, maybe a Coke. What do you have here? Dr. Pepper, maybe chocolate. If this is happening day after day after day, then that couple will conceive and have a child, and that child can have a tendency to autism, attention deficit syndrome, because they've been born with a gene that has disrupted the neurotransmitters in the brain. And they don't tell you that on the coffee packet, do they? What also leaches minerals is refined sugar. Nothing wrong with sugar cane. Sugar cane's actually incredibly high in minerals, but it takes about half an hour to eat 2 inches. But there's 10 metres of sugar cane in a can of Coca-Cola. That's 10 teaspoons of sugar. So it's a highly toxic drug. In fact, it's so toxic that when it goes into your body, it causes blood sugar levels to rise quickly, which means now very quickly insulin has to be released in high amounts. And then the insulin gets the blood sugar down, and then it goes too low, and then the person has some more sugar, and so you get this whiplash, and that wears out pancreases. Now we've got a weakened pancreatic gene. We've got some children today who have diabetes at 18 months of age. They haven't been on the planet long enough to beat up the pancreas. They've been born with a weakened pancreatic gene. Maybe it's because of the parents' sugar habits. And so sugar definitely can cause a weakened DNA to the pancreas, but it also leaches minerals. One writer said, Sugar leaves the body better dressed than when it went in. What did it go in as? Naked, nothing, no minerals at all. It's a pure acid, that white sugar. And when it comes out of your body, if you were to test your urine, you'd find there was calcium and magnesium in the urine. And when those bones weaken, what's that called? Osteoporosis. There are cultures today, especially this was remarked on in the Blue Zone book, that are living till they're 100, no osteoporosis, fine health. Yes, they have aged a little, but they're still active and they're still healthy. I think the Okinawans, that's a Japanese island, and the Sardinians, I think Italian living up in the mountains, and the Seventh-day Adventists. They're the three that ranked top in the Blue Zone, meaning they live long, healthy lives. And the three common denominators were, they're very active. The other common denominator is that they eat food in its natural state. It's not refined, not devitalised. Some of them eat meat, and if they do, it's only a very small part of the diet. And the third one was they're very social. We're social people, and it's an important part of us. So what's another one that leaches minerals out of the body is alcohol. Alcohol's a toxic poison. It was 15 years ago, the Australian Health Department put out a statement. I haven't seen the statement since. It says there is no safe dose of alcohol. It's toxic poison. Children are being born today with fetal alcohol syndrome from parents that have even a couple of drinks a week. You see, alcohol directly affects the liver and also the brain. And leaching minerals. The other is tobacco. Children are being born today with less alveoli in their lungs. They can even develop emphysema without ever having smoked. These are poisons that are leaching minerals out of the body. So can you see what's happening today? Another reason why the DNA is breaking down, or there is damage in the DNA, is big one is lack of minerals, and also the damage that these toxins cause. Another reason why damage is happening is genetically modified foods. Genetically modified foods is the result of the DNA of two different species being spliced together in the hope that they create a tomato that grows in the snow, but it actually doesn't. In fact, this tomato that's been genetically modified has many centres. It does not have the same molecular structure as a tomato that hasn't been genetically modified, and so this has the ability to damage our DNA. Vladimir Putin, Russia's president, he passed a law 20 years ago now, I think. Any Russian that grows genetically modified food is to be considered a terrorist, and he's even giving away land to Russians who will grow organic, non-GMO food. Now that's something that hasn't hit the newspaper, isn't it? There are many things about Russia that do hit the newspaper. I don't know, but I can't believe anything that I read in that newspaper. It's a bit difficult today. But genetically modified foods have the ability to damage the DNA. Electromagnetic field excess. We are electrical people, and the electromagnetic field that's coming out of the devices that we all have, phones, iPads, and computers, even those hands-free phones, they're pretty high. Now we all have them, and oh, how we love them. I'm so glad I can dialogue with my family on WhatsApp while I'm gone. But try and keep it away from your body. Have it out of your bedroom while you are sleeping. It's called the silent killer. And it has the ability to come in and damage DNA. Be especially careful on children's exposure. So many people find it easy to keep the kids quiet by what? Giving them a device. They're quiet until you try and take it away from them. You know, the best thing for kids outside playing in the sand pit. You know, keep it very, very limited, because their skulls aren't as thick as ours, so it's causing damage more than even adults. And you know the worst place to put your laptop, don't you? Is on your lap. Protect the family jewels. Contributing to low sperm count and penile dysfunction in men. Also contributing to miscarriages in women, with girls that have had laptop, 10, 11, as those eggs are developing. And I was reading on a breast surgeon, and he said that it's alarming the amount of young women who are getting breast cancer in the breast where they put the phone in their sports bra. You can even buy a sports bra today with a pocket in it that you can put your phone in. And I wonder how many hip replacements are going to be happening in 40, 50-year-old people, whereas usually hip replacements happen in 70-year-olds, with the phone in the hip pocket, right where that femur goes into that pelvis. So yeah, keep it away from your body as much as possible. Also, chemicals. We are exposed to more chemicals today than any generation that ever lived on the planet. The good news is, and we'll be going through this tomorrow, is that we have a liver created by God that has the ability to detoxify us. Isn't that good news? And we'll be showing you the conditions that it needs to be able to detoxify us from environmental poisons. You've made a good choice to come here to Living Springs Retreat, where you're going through a 2-day detox that'll effectively, little by little, start to get some of the chemicals out of your body. And it's estimated that we are exposed to 100,000 new chemicals every year. That's scary, isn't it? We have no say over the neighbour, but we have total say over us. We have total say over the clothes we wear, because there are fabrics today made in a chemical laboratory, and that is polyester, nylon, and acrylic. When I was a little girl, everything was cotton, except in winter we'd have a woolen jumper. Wasn't it prickly? Oh, it never touched us because we had our cotton shirt underneath the woolly jumper. It's coming in so many hidden ways, is the chemicals. Start to be aware of what's in your laundry detergent, what's in anything that is touching your body, particularly ladies, because the men, most of their clothes are just cotton, but ladies like the pretty things, and a lot of pretty things are made out of those chemicals. We'll look at fabrics a little bit more in another lecture. But just to show you the many hidden ways that we can be exposed to chemicals. Looking at the things that can damage the DNA. Also, what can damage the DNA is mold. Mold has the ability, and we see it in nature, it can splice into the DNA of plants. There's even a snail that when fungus gets into this snail, the little antennas grow longer and have colour in them. Does this happen with humans? Yes, it actually is a possibility. And mold is something that a lot of people don't realise is such a danger. If you read the Bible, it says if the house is mouldy, you've got to clean it up, get the mortar out. I guess most houses were made out of stone. Clean the mortar out, wash it all, re-mortar it, then the house was to be shut up. And then they'd come back 2 weeks later. If they opened it up and the mould had again grown, they had to dismantle the house and take it. It's in the old days in the Bible it said take it to an unclean place outside the city. Well, the house had to be destroyed. It's toxic stuff. This is why I wrote a book on it, because a lot of people don't realise the danger of mould. What is mould? It's a microorganism. What does micro mean? Microscopy, it means you can't see it with the naked eye. Organism, that means it's living. And microorganisms are everywhere. In fact, there's 10 times more microorganisms in the body than cells, and we have 100 trillion cells in the body. And there are 10 times more microorganisms in our gastrointestinal tract than anywhere else in the body. And whenever cell damage happens, these microorganisms have the ability to change roles. Let me show you. Let's say we've got a cat, and maybe the cat falls out of a tree and dies. What happens to the cat? It starts to decompose, yeah. And what causes it to decompose? It's actually the cells in the, once you get, and the ultimate cell damage is, of course, death, it starts to break down. And these microorganisms now have the ability to change roles. They start to become the cleanup team. Or as one microbiologist said to me, we call them the garbage collectors. That's their role on planet Earth. I think here in the US you call it trash, is that right? Still garbage too? Garbage collectors. What's their name? Their name is bacteria. That's what bacteria is. That's what bacteria does. It has a role on the planet. It's to clean up waste. As the environment changes, so do the microorganisms. As the bacteria starts to break down the matter, because that's what these organisms are doing, it's their role in the cycle of life. Their role is to break up matter and bring it back to dust. Hand doesn't work, so I use teeth. Or doesn't work very well. That's what these microorganisms are doing. And that's what's happening with the dead cat, which is matter. These microorganisms are bringing it back to dust. And as the bacteria works on this matter, bringing it down, it changes. So as the bacteria breaks it down, we get changes. Now it changes into another form. It now becomes the exterminators. And the exterminator's name is yeast, fungus. Remember what we're drawing here. We're drawing the cycle of life. Another one is a virus. Yeast, fungus, they need a host, just like the virus does. That's what the exterminators are. As the environment changes, so do the microbes. They now become the undertakers. What do the undertakers do? The undertakers take away dead things. What's their name? That's the mould. And it's not long after the mould stage that the matter has now been brought back to dust. So what I've drawn for you here is the carbon cycle, or the cycle of life. And the cycle of life states, nothing's created and nothing's destroyed. It just changes form. That's what the carbon cycle is. It's designed by God. These microbes are designed by God. They have a role on the planet. And their role is to bring matter back to dust. And when you think about it, if it wasn't for these microorganisms, there'd be so much rubbish on the planet, you wouldn't be able to live on the planet.